Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're watching us. We're back this week with the tower at UNN. I'm happy that we've been able to get ourselves here today in order to present and talk to you and talk about one thing or the other. But before today's show starts, I'd like to introduce today's show. We're going to actually be talking about accountability, confidentiality, and purpose, how that works within the structure of a revolution, especially as people organizing ourselves for a revolutionary purpose. But before we get into all of that, we will do what we always do. First, we will listen to the national anthem. And right after the national anthem, I have my co hosts here with me today. Senior Chintu, he will come and give his greetings as well. And we will listen then to the state anthem. And from there onwards, we will start to get into our program. So I'll ask the producer at this point in time to go ahead and play the national anthem.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love, our labor we give, and we've neighbors all at our country's calling, peace and friendship.
Welcome back from our national anthem. I would like to invite Senior Chintu to please come and bid his greetings to our audience members.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to our Sunday show today. On this special day God has given us. Let us, this time around, look at each other, look into ourselves, and see what we are here for and what we stand for and where we want to go as a people. Thank you very much for joining us on this very important day.
Thank you so much for that, Senior Chintu. And as I said before we get into today's program, another tradition of ours is playing a state anthem. So we'll go ahead and listen to the Nyoro state anthem, and I'll have the producer play that for us as well.
Sige
and welcome back from the anthem that is from Bunyoro State. And as I said before, today our show, and as Senior has also said, it's going to be about kind of like a communal reflection about where we are at, how we've been going about it, and where we need to do adjustments effectively, and what is the purpose of all of this. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite back Senior, and we're going to break this down into different categories. Firstly, we're going to talk about accountability, but also we're going to look at that further because we have two Ugandan communities. We have the diaspora, and then we have on the ground, and how these different groups are keeping each other accountable and who is actually causing the other more harm. Then we'll move on to confidentiality. What's the purpose of that to a revolution? What that means and how we've been going about it as a collective. And then again, we'll split that into diaspora and on the ground. And then we'll talk about purpose and who has been demonstrating purpose and how they've built that. And we'll do the same. We'll split it and also talk about us as a whole. So, Senior, as I said, we're going to start with accountability. I would like to ask you to start with defining accountability for us in terms of just keeping yourself accountable, but not the word itself, because there seems to be a confusion of what accountability is in terms of revolutionary purpose. It's only being suggested when it has to do with finances and tallying books, but when it comes to the revolutionary purpose, it's not really thought about on an individual basis that affects the whole community basis.
Well, thank you very much for posing that very, very intricate question. Accountability cannot be answered within 2, 3, or 4 sentences. No, it is a multi-dimension issue which we have to look at. Now, I want to break it down into different factors in relation to what we are up to. Accountability on the part of leaders is going to be different from the accountability on the part of followers. Let me just zero in on the leaders. If you really want to be an accountable leader, you must be consistent in what you preach, and you must practice exactly what you are preaching. And by consistency and being doing exactly what you are preaching, because people look at you, listen to you, follow you because they can trust you. How do they get that trust? Because they really believe you can't lead them astray. You can't lead them to the lion's den. You can't teach them, or you do not do what you really don't believe in. Okay? Now, let's look at some of what has been going on. Some people have come to you and said, "Ebyo mubindekere," and they trusted. Then you turn around and tell them that, "Don't wait for me to do things. You go ahead and do." But you told us, let us leave all these matters to you, that you trusted yourself. You believe that you are strong enough, you are intelligent enough, you are capable enough to handle this issue. And we gave you our trust. Then you turn around when we are being eaten by the wolves. You turn around and say, well, you got to fight for yourselves. Now, where is your accountability? Did you believe in what you said? Are you following up with what you are doing? Are you consistent in what you are preaching so that people can follow you? Now, when it comes to the followers, if the leadership tells you, let us go do this thing, they expect you to go ahead and deliver. Now, some of you guys may remember in 1980, I think it was 1982, 81, 82. No. When we had the first attack, I think it was 1981. Many people were assigned the jobs to do. I think it was 1980. Many people were assigned jobs to do. And those who were assigned certain jobs to do in that initial attack, you remember those attacks when the group of Kaira and others attacked the Ruzira prison? Others were
Yes.
assigned to attack Makindye, Lubiri
Mm.
barracks, you name it. And some of these characters actually did not carry out what they were assigned to do. They were not accountable to what they professed to be. And of course, the whole thing failed simply because some of the commanders did not do what they were supposed to do. And even those who were expected to carry out the work didn't do what they were supposed to do. And the results become miserable failure. This happens in so many events when you expect people to do certain things and they fail to do it. Now, I have broken down these kind of mistakes into two categories. Some people make these mistakes because they are plain ignorant. They don't know what they are supposed to be doing, or they have never learned what they are supposed to be doing. For example, if you give me a bazooka, I don't know how to fire it. I'm ignorant. So I cannot fire that machine. But if I had learned how to do it, yeah, I can handle it. There are other people who make very grave mistakes because of ineptitude. They refuse or they fail to do what they are supposed to do, or they do not apply what they know where it should be most effective. I'll give you one good example. We have talked about this wonderful engineer called Badru Chigundu, whom I know very well, and I hope he's listening because he's a good friend of mine. We have known each other since we were both undergraduates in universities here in America. Badru Chigundu is a fantastic civil engineer, but he was put in a place to manage stealing votes. He should have been put where he is best qualified in designing highways and roads and bridges for Uganda. That's why we have rotten roads and rotten bridges, because people who are qualified to do certain things are placed in the wrong things. Now, there is one woman who is very good at milking cows, and that's what she knows best. And I can bet my $5 on it, that's all she can do best. She's now Minister of Education, and she has screwed up the education system in Uganda, misplacing people in wrong places where they cannot perform. That is a very, very big mistake, and the consequences are very, very costly. Now, in terms of our revolution, consistency is very important. Purposefulness is very important. When, as Desire said, she broke down the Ugandan community into two camps, the diaspora and the homebound. What is your purpose? I could even say, what is your purpose in this revolution? Do you want to make money? Because there are some people who are very busy making money out of our suffering. And such a people don't want to see anything change. What is your purpose? Another person is going to say, my purpose is to save Uganda from the Batusi invasion. And another person is going to say, my purpose is one day to be in power at any cost. Another person is going to say, my purpose is to maintain the NRM regime or the NRM system. Let's be very clear. What is your purpose? If your purpose is in any of those categories I've mentioned, find that team that you can hang around with and join hands with them so that you can pursue a collective purpose. I can tell you, my purpose is to make sure that Museveni's regime is gone. Plus, the Tutsi domination of Uganda is gone. Those are my purposes. You can love me or hate me, I don't care. But those are my purposes. Whatever I do has to lead towards that goal. Once I have set that goal, then I look for people that I can hang around with whom we can pursue this common purpose. Now, if your purpose is to make money out of our suffering, I will tell you, you don't have Kintu on your team because I'm not going to join you. And there are many Ugandans right now, especially in the diaspora, who are confused. Their purpose, I don't even know whether they know it or not, because a good many of them don't even know what their purpose is. We have to be clear where we are going, what we are here for, what we want to achieve. Then there are other people who are going to tell you, oh, let's fight for the rescue of so and so. No. I, for one, am not here to fight for the rescue of an individual. Because if the dictator or the monsters says, all right, you want to rescue John? I'll spit him out of the concentration camp. Now, what next? Am I satisfied because John is out of the slaughterhouse? No. My purpose or our purpose is to save Uganda. And by saving Uganda, everybody, including John and Peter and Mumbare, the king of Bakonjo, will be rescued. You see, we are not here to fight for the rescue of the king because tomorrow they can say, if that's what you want, we'll let him out. Now, what next are you going to do? Are you going to wait until they grab another one? And then you will be out on the street and try to save him from the slaughterhouse. No, we are here to fight for the survival of Uganda, and that transcends time, place, and the individuals. We should not focus on one individual.
And Senior, I wanted you to talk a little bit more on, because purposes are very, very important. It's at the heart of what we do, and our purpose as set as to save Uganda. Could you talk about how in the diaspora we have this confusion about what our purpose is supposed to be towards the revolution, whereas when we go homebound right now, the dictator and his team have set their purpose and are seriously going towards their goal of actually making sure that Muhoozi does become the president, and how that interrelationship that's happening with a confused diaspora and seriousness on the ground or back at home is going to cost Uganda more than people actually account themselves towards. We will all be at fault for him ultimately becoming president.
Well, it's a good point you've raised. You've brought out that name, Muhoozi. But let us not be oversold to the name Muhoozi. Muhoozi is just a small section in a larger configuration of issues. These people are focused, they have a purpose of taking over the entire Great Lakes region. And by so doing, they are operating like an octopus, grabbing Uganda, Rwanda, which they have already grabbed, Eastern Congo, and now they have grabbed Kenya and Southern Sudan. Now they are dominating either directly or by proxy. We have seen what is going on in Kenya under this new president, who was a protege of Yoweri Museveni. Now, Ugandans who are in opposition to Museveni cannot be safe in Nairobi. When
Mm.
just a year ago, yeah, you could go to Nairobi and be safe, not any longer. All right? So they are controlling Kenya by proxy. Now, their purpose, as I said, is to dominate the Great Lakes region. This
Mm.
issue of Muhoozi is nothing. They can knock out Muhoozi today and have some other idiot out there. As long
Mm.
as he's following the same script, which is domination of the Great Lakes region. I wrote a
Mm.
paper in 1998 about the Tutsi invasion of Eastern Congo.
Mm.
And that paper has been around all these years. Some scholars are now researching and following it up, saying, oh, this is exactly what is going on in Congo. They started way back then, for God's sake.
Mm.
And they have not abandoned their purpose.
Mm.
Those characters like Bizima, Kabarebe, they have been on the job of cutting off, destabilizing Eastern Congo so that they can control. They are now almost 80% successful because they are consistent. They are not
Mm.
like you people challenging every bloody day. They are consistent and they are doing what they believe in. They are doing what they have promised themselves to do. But are you doing exactly the same thing to reverse
Mm.
their demonic agenda? No, you are not. You are busy dancing and singing. That is not going to cut the cake. Okay? Purposefulness, consistency, those virtues have to go hand in hand. And that is where you, Ugandans in the diaspora and even at home, are failing miserably. And your country is going to be taken over. Now, when I say consistency, consistency has also to be followed by your actions.
Mm.
We had someone come out with a tape telling us that, oh, these people, of course, he cannot mention their name, but he said, these people are going to take over your country and you're going to be slaves in your own land. Okay, I agree. But you know what? I have known that for the last 30, 40 years. What are you doing about it? Instead of doing something about it, you are doing the opposite. In other words, you are abetting the enemy to take over your country. You gave away your goddamn bedroom, your kitchen. As this man, Charles, what is his name? Charles Kayihura came on our show a couple of weeks ago, and they said,
Oh
"You
yeah.
guys, you are just bullshitting yourselves. When you even have our own daughters in your beds as wives, you don't even know what they are going to put in your food when you wake up in the morning." In other words, what he was saying, let me put it blunt. He said, we Tutsis have you by the balls. That's what he was telling us. And you guys don't even hear it. What's wrong with you Ugandans? Those were words of Kaihura. I don't know whether
Mm.
he's the son of the famous murderer called it IGE Kaihura. I don't know. They are all the same anyway. It doesn't matter who is who. Now, this
Mm.
is exactly what we are talking about. You can't tell people that you are warning Ugandans, or Baganda for that matter, that these people are going to take over our country. And yet, you are the one who is promoting them, and you are surrounded by the same killers and the murderers and the thieves. What are you trying to tell us? Let me tell you, as a Catholic, you cannot tell me that you want to become a Catholic priest, knowing what a Catholic priest is. And then you're telling me you want to be married. Those things don't work. If you want to be married, don't even think about being a Catholic priest. If you want to be a Catholic priest, then don't talk about marriage. You are telling us that we should defend and throwing the ball back to the people. We as Ugandans, as Baganda, should work hard to save our country from being overrun by your brother-in-laws. And yet you are following them, you are surrounding yourself with them. Your entire operation is controlled by the same people. You are telling us that they are overrunning our country. What kind of nonsense is this? Your words are not consistent with your actions. And it makes me sick to the stomach to see many of you Ugandans still following that kind of nonsense. You should have the brains to identify crooks and criminals, liars and inept people from people of substance. This is the tragedy of Uganda. And I can tell you one thing. Uganda is overrun by these Tutsis because of you people who are wasting your time following idiots who are doing nothing but abetting the enemy to swallow the country even more. Because if you people had the brains to stick together and have a reason why you are in this revolution and focus your energy on saving the country, not dancing and singing, these Batusi would be out of the country. I told you a couple of months ago, when I went to Congo during the reign of Laurent Kabila, the people of Congo could not, well, let me put it this way. The army at that time of Congo was too small and too weak to fight the onslaught of those guys like Kabarebe and Bizima and all the ones who came from Kigali. But the natives were focused on saving their country. And I'm talking about the natives who are similar to your gang you have today in Kampala. They came up with a solution. Whenever they saw a Mututsi soldier, they would go to him like a bees. And let me tell you, if a soldier is surrounded by 10 people, the gun he's holding on his chest has nothing, is useless. They grabbed the bastard, grabbed the gun off his shoulders, put a tire on him, spilled petrol on him, and they had lighted with a cigarette or a chibiliti, and just set the bastard on fire. They burnt no more than 100 within the city of Kinshasa. And I physically saw the locations where they did this burning, that the grass couldn't even grow on there. Within less than a week, there was no Mutusi left in Kinshasa. And those of you who have been there, you know how big Kinshasa city is. Not a single Mutusi was left. They ran, those who didn't get burned. And that was a result of this mob reaction, not the ones you see in Kampala with their arms crossed around. Oh, Banange, Patonda Tuyampe, calling God. Are you kidding me? You think God is going to come like an eagle with angels with drawn guns and angels with their wings and drawn guns? Hell no, it doesn't work that way. The Congolese didn't call God, but God was in them. And they found, you have plenty of loose tires. They set those bastards on fire. Within no time, they were gone. And you people cannot do that simply because you are being fooled by these inept nincompoops, keeping you busy dancing and singing. This is your problem, Ugandans.
And Senior, as we talk about now the fact that there is a lack of purpose because of uh, of course, most of the people who purport themselves to be leading the revolution are rather invested in other things that mostly involve money making. We know we don't have a functioning opposition in Uganda as it is. I want to bring the ball back to the diaspora because we must drill and streamline as our accountability because we should know better than the stupidity that the diaspora is going on. We should know better, but there's a sense of everyone because I guess the question I'm trying to ask and the conversation I'm trying to let us get into is the diaspora has to play a very huge role when it comes to this revolution. We cannot have the diaspora itself then be the infiltrated mold of this revolution because the role it has to play is too big for them to be the ones that are confused, that are displaced within this revolution, and that are infiltrated. So, just a message for our audience and things to think about when it comes to the diaspora. Let's start with just on an individual basis and then look at it on a communal basis because most people are bothered about themselves and where they see themselves versus the communal goal, which is actually saving the country and returning that to ourselves as a nation.
Well, you are right. The diaspora has a moral decay,
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
morally bankrupt. They have
Mm,
decayed very
mm,
dangerously. Let me
mm,
give you one example. I believe some of you guys may remember the Kuwait War
mm.
United States waged against Saddam Hussein in Kuwait
Oh,
when
yeah.
Saddam Hussein invaded that country. All right.
Mm,
The president, I think it was Bush Senior. Yeah, it was Bush Senior. Now, the president declared war on Kuwait, rather to
mm,
save Kuwait from Saddam. That was the purpose. And of course, you know, America operates, you know, with the private business and they contract almost everything to some uh, business people. There was a
mm,
gentleman here in Falls Church, Virginia, across the river from Washington, D.C., who was a very good businessman and a Republican supporter, of course. They gave him the contract to manufacture body bags. You know, when the soldiers are, American soldiers are killed in war, they put the bodies in, you know, those plastic, I think they are dark black body bags.
mm,
The man was so happy to get the contract. You're talking about multi-million dollar contract. And this gentleman believed that this war, which is started in Kuwait, is going to last like the Vietnam War, which went on for years. And he's going to be
yes.
producing body bags. So what the man did was to go to the bank, borrow some money, expand his production of body bags, hired new
Mm,
employees. I mean, you know, getting ready for a big, big operation, which is going to last a couple of years. Unfortunately, President Bush called off the war after a few weeks. And the man, he had already prepared his business to produce, let's say, you know, 1,000
mm,
body bags a day for the next
yeah.
10, 15 years. And he
Mm,
has set up the machinery, everything, ordered the raw materials, you name it. He was ready to make money.
mm,
Now, when Bush called off the war, the man had a heart attack. He was
mm.
so upset and he cursed the president and even promised never to vote for the Republican Party again because they have made him lose an opportunity where he was going to make money. And I say,
Mm.
unfortunately, the damn fool didn't even die because if he died, they should have put him in one of the body bags he's been making. But look at the morality of this character. He was
Mm,
just looking at making money by
mm,
producing body bags, which will carry the dead kids of my
mm,
son and your daughter who are going to be sent to Kuwait to fight. For him, whether 100 boys and girls are being killed in the war a day, he doesn't
okay.
care. All he wants is to make money. This is the immorality you people have. Now
Mm,
that Uganda are being shipped overseas as slaves, Ugandans are running away to America, purporting to be whatever. And I know this for a fact. There are many Ugandans
mm,
who have come to America. They pretend to be homosexual so that they can easily get asylum here. And they are going through these hard times to be in exile, and you are looking at them as a way of making money.
mm,
And you are making big money. People like that don't want to see this regime change because this is the way they are making money. Just like that fool from Falls Church who was looking at making money by producing body bags which will carry our dead children. For him,
mm,
death was a source of income for him. You see, this immorality is very
mm,
detrimental to the survival of Uganda as a country, to the survival
true.
of our people.
Mm,
We need to have a combination of moral values, accountability, and the purposeful of our actions, looking beyond individuals.
mm,
And I want to emphasize that we are not here to fight for rescuing John, Peter, Mohammed, whoever. No, much as we
mm,
want them to be. We are here to rescue Uganda. Once Uganda is rescued, there is no
fine.
issue of Mohammed, John, Peter, and Paul being. Where will the concentration camps be? You call them safe houses. They are dangerous houses. They are not safe houses. They
Mm,
will not be. Uganda is free of Batusi. We
mm,
have had bad leaders. Let's admit it. Obote, Idi Amin, you name it, they were bad leaders. But we
mm,
did not have this kind of mass killings of Ugandans as we have now when it is occupied by Batusi. We did not have people being killed by poison as
mm,
our Archbishop Cipriano Rwanga was killed. We did not have these concentration camps, these guys as safe houses. I don't even understand why people use the word safe, because safety to me means free from danger.
mm,
These are gulas.
mm,
We did not have many our people being sent into Arab countries as slaves until we had the Batusi running this show. We did not have our people being cut in pieces to get spare parts out of them and sell them abroad. We never had that under Idi Amin or Obote.
mm,
We never had our people being chased off their land so that a Munyarwanda, a Mutusi can come and occupy that piece of territory. We never had that before until these Batus are here. And you guys, especially you who are purporting to be political leaders and
mm,
parading yourselves around, you can't even address these issues. You are talking about our children being sold in exile in Arab countries as a slave, but you are not talking about these bloody companies with offices there at Rubaga, Nakasero, Mutundwe, which are selling our kids into the Saudi Arabia because those companies are owned by Batusits who are your brother-in-laws, for God's sake.
mm,
This is where you should start. And I'll say openly, go and set those bloody offices of those companies on fire
mm,
to show you that we are pissed off. But you are not doing it.
mm,
But yet you want to milk money out of these kids who are suffering as slaves in those Arab countries. This is where
mm.
you have gone wrong and you do not have my respect. I'm sorry.
rightfully so. And Senior, at this point in time, we're going to take a short break and then we're going to come back and talk about confidentiality, which is like the rock of any revolution. There needs to be protocol on how information runs through an organized group of people, how and where and how we handle it. And I've found that Ugandans are very used to mishandling misinformation, misinterpreting, and spreading it by the farthest mile they can find. So we'll come back and talk about that segment. And after that segment, we'll start to take in some phone calls and some messages after we talk about that. But let's first take a short break and then come back with that last segment.
Why do we need the federal system of governance in Uganda? And what is federalism? Federal is a system of governance. It's not about getting rid of the central government. It's not about party politics. It's not about multi-partisan or absence of it. It's not about religious differences. It's not about tribalism. It is not for the benefit of Buganda alone. It's not about monarchism. It's not about land or dispossessing people from land. It is not about supremacy of one region over another or others. It's about helping the central government to provide services more efficiently and provide more effective development to the people. It's about sharing power and responsibilities between the central government and regional governments. Federalism is about providing more prosperity, more wealth, more feeling of belonging and participation in governance by marginalized and non-marginalized people. The federal system of government minimizes possibilities of waging war against the central government. It minimizes internal acts of terrorism and discontent against the central government. It has inbuilt safeguards that ensure uniform growth for all regions of the country, and additional measures to make sure that the marginalized or less developed regions of the country can catch up through the system of equalization grants and affirmative action programs. This ensures that the regions with greater income and development contribute a percentage of their earnings to the developed areas which may be less developed. It should be noted that federalism, though different from decentralization, does not contradict or exclude decentralization. The two systems can and should coexist and complement each other at the regional level. Advocating federal does not mean or seek to get rid of decentralization from regional tier. Nor does it mean getting rid of district MPs, LC leaders, or other regional government officials. To learn more about federalism, register and join UFCC at www.ufcc.uk.
Chief Justice Owini Dolo is a former private lawyer to Tibuhaburwa and involved in the constitutional change of the term limit in 2005. Whilst in 2017, he also participated as panel judge in the infamous constitutional change of the age limit, famously known as Tojikwatako, which gave Tibuhaburwa a further hand at impinging on the Ugandan people's human rights. In all cases, he has been involved as panel judge, including Dr. Chiza Besige's election petitions. He has served the dictator's interests. Michael Chibita is a former private secretary of Museveni, aka Tibuhaburwa. Overwhelming evidence from the survivors and victims of the Museveni state terror suggests that Michael Chibita frustrated, blocked and subverted justice in all the high-profile murder cases that occurred just before or during his tenure as the Directorate of Public Prosecution, DPP, of Uganda. These cases include Nsenga, Afande Haji Sebagala, Magistrate Mafabi, Wilberforce Wamala, and many more. including delayed justice for Masaka businessman Godfrey Katoka Juri. The families of the murdered people have never received justice. Those who narrowly survived the premeditated murders continue to live in fear and are now refugees abroad. Extrajudicial kidnappings and killings of Ugandans have only worsened due to the impunity that Chibita has actively participated in. These cases are among many that have been lodged at the International Criminal Court, ICC, against Tibuhaburwa. Don't forget that Tibuhaburwa appointed Chibita in all the positions he has held to date, as his former private secretary, legal judge of the High Court, DPP as Supreme Court judge, and now as a member of the petition panel to seal the rubber stamp to Tibuhaburwa's rigged victory. Cry. The screams that bring you chills down the spine. The screams that you can only imagine in a movie.
Sula talina buzibu waba Sula nga gyali bamumbuulira Sula gyali naye maama omwana wange mwana aba yafa bampa omulambo nziike akumpe nguziike abaana nabaga nti kitambwe wuuyo omutaka.
The screams of every mother's nightmare, losing a child. Communities have been devastated, families broken.
Ngenda okulingiza nga abasirikale bajjudde nga bakuba oluggi nga balusamba ebitagambika motoka zagipaakinze awo wennyini motoka 3. Ngenda okusembera wano nga toyina woyinza kuyisa kigere nga basajja bambadde black bonna beesabisa obukookolo ku maaso.
What compounds their grief is not knowing what really happened to their children. The question is, what really happened?
Tuzze nga tutegeeza abavunaanyizibwako nti we babanga abantu baffe balina omusango gwe baakola mutugambe ffe ababaka baabwe naddala nze munnamateeka waabwe temumalirivu okulaba nga mbawolereza. Bweba tebalina ensobi yonna gye baakola tebalina musango gwe bazza mubate.
Communities devastated, families broken. The screams of every mother's nightmare, losing a child.
Ku poliisi mbabuuze Sula yasuze wano Sula ali ludda wa baŋŋamba Sula tebamanyi Sula wa gy'akola ki gye bamutudde ne mbabuuza Sula tusobola okumufuna n'atubuulira omusango ki gwe yazizza. Baŋŋamba sooka oddeyo ewaka ebintu by'abasula situyina poliisi kyebimanyiiko.
The question is that these mothers do not know where the children have been taken. The question is, what really happened to their children or husbands? What really compounds their grief is not knowing who to turn to. All they can say is, we saw masked men taking their children, and no one knows who, where, and for what reason. Their only hope is that their loved ones are returned, dead or alive.
Welcome back from that short break. You're on the tower at UNN, and I'm here with Senior Chintu. Today, we previously talked about holding ourselves accountable and what we're doing with that and distorting that and the moral decay that exists in the diaspora in regard to the revolution and also purpose, how we building that, how we're building purpose within ourselves, and also how distracted we are from the main purpose, which should be saving and liberating our nation back into the owners of the nation, which is the indigenous groups of Uganda. But many are not on the same page with the purpose. So I want us to go into then the issue of confidentiality. There seems to be a lack of and just a mishandling of information, especially as it pertains to this revolution. So, Sini, I want to start with us exploring what is confidentiality, the purposes that the role that it actually plays in this revolution, and why it's such an important protocol to making sure that that goal is achieved at the end, and how this has been mishandled, abused, and continues to be again the same thing, mishandled and abused continuously by both members at home and in the diaspora.
Thank you very much for this important topic. As you have been introducing this very important issue, I scratched in my brains and remembered one of these languages I know, and now I'm confused. I don't know whether it is Ruhaya or Runyoro. They say, ebibonwa tibyo bigambwa. I think it could be Ruhaya or Runyoro, I don't know, but I know it. Ebibonwa tibyo bigambwa. What is seen is not what should be or should be talked about. You have to have in your brains a filter. What is public information? What is confidential information? Because if you do not have confidentiality in what you are doing, then you are alerting the enemy precisely what your strategies are about. I remember a couple of weeks ago, someone called on this show, and I said, I do not discuss strategy on public broadcast like this. That is confidential. I don't know if that caller understood, but if he was wise enough, he would say, I agree. Because that's the way it should be. Not everything that is seen and known should be broadcast. I recall in 1980, I was in Kampala, and my good friend, who was the chairman of Uganda Coffee Marketing Board, I've forgotten his name. It has just skipped my brains right now. We were together in Nairobi during the whole planning of the revolution, and they came to Kampala, and they had a meeting somewhere there near where you have the Uganda, I think it's, anyway, somewhere there they have the Uganda telephone towers. They had a meeting at night. And one guy, I'm going to say his first name, not the last one. He's called Robert. He was among them. The next morning, that crazy Robert sent the information to a BBC broadcasting, BBC news agent. He was a Muzungu man. Those of you who were in the news media, remember that man who had a bent back like this? He walked, and the information was broadcast on BBC. Before you know it, all the people were in that meeting were picked up. Roger Mukasa, that's the name. Roger Mukasa was in that meeting. He was picked up with other guys and taken to Luzira. Then finally he was released because Binaisa was his brother-in-law. And that's how he got released from the prison. And we met at a slow boat in Kampala, on Kampala Road. And I said, oh, Roger, kulike komera. He said, my brother, we almost got killed. And I said, oh, thank God you are still alive. And as we were parting, he said, oh, Mr. King, to come back again. I said, what? He said, you remember when we were in Nairobi, you called that man a mangala? I said, yes. He said, he's the one who reported everything to the news media. I said, well, when we were in Nairobi, I told you that this man was a mangala, never discuss anything with him because his mouth is too wide, he has no zipper on it. And that's what we're talking about. Some of our people, they think everything is out to be discussed openly or should be reported or shared by anybody at beer parties, at prostitute houses, you name it. They are going to say, no, there are many important issues pertaining to, especially to this revolution, which should never, never be discussed publicly. And if you have had the opportunity to know some of that confidential information, you are privileged to share in what I would call secret information, or you have what Americans call secret, is it called clearance? That is why Donald Trump is in trouble, because some of these national security issues or documents shouldn't be out in the open. They should be heavily protected. But our people, I don't know what's wrong with you guys. They think that everything has to be discussed in the open. Then they can pride themselves and say, hey, I know what's going on, because there was a meeting in New York at night, and John was there, Peter was there, Lawrence was there, Margaret was there. They discussed buying guns from Cuba, and they are going to attack Makindye. Oh, what do you expect the enemy to do? The enemy is going to be ready for them when they come to Makindye. Do you want them to fail or you want them to succeed? That's the question. Oh, no, I just wanted to share this information with my buddies and tell them about what I heard, what was going on in New York. It is worse than stupidity. You have to have a filter in your brains. If you don't have one, buy one tomorrow. Not everything has to be discussed openly. If you have had an opportunity to have access to some of this confidential information, whoop, zip your mouth as if you didn't hear it. I know someone here one time we were discussing, he said, I don't even want to hear it. And he's right. I don't want that to come in my ears because I don't want to be responsible for having spitted out the beans. If and when some idiot, and I mean it, a person who is going to spit that information is an idiot. If some idiot spits out that information, I don't want to be part of that nonsense. The Bible itself, those of you who are versed in the Bible itself tells us there is a time when Jesus said, if the owner of the estate knew what time the thief is going to come, he would guard his estate. If Museveni knows when, because now he knows we hate him. He knows we want him out of the country. Alive or dead, we want him out of the country. That's not a secret. But if we want to plan getting rid of him, he shouldn't know that we are coming on Saturday morning. But if you let him know that we are coming on Saturday morning, then you are on his side because you want him to prevail. And let me tell you something. This is what I told you that happened in Namibia. That is when the Wananchi will blow you out, and there is no apology to make because you are more dangerous than the enemy. Confidentiality covers knowing what is public information and what is confidential and private information. Not everybody must have access to confidential information.
And
Not everybody.
Senior, as we're on this topic, I find it very interesting that it's only in the Ugandan diaspora that strategy has been popularized by many different characters and groups, whereby speaking of strategy militarily has been done, and it has captured the minds of so many of our very own in the diaspora. And I just wanted to tie those into purpose and people being able to evaluate what has purpose and what does not have purpose. Like here in UNN, yes, we did have Seguja who would come and talk about his military strategy as well, but there have been also very many other groups and individuals that have propped up and they do talk about their military strategy, and they've managed to mislead and capture minds of so many Ugandans in the diaspora who are embracing more of that that line and are not listening, that if is to exactly the fact that you said, if the enemy knows you've been Masindi by Saturday morning, the enemy will defeat you. Many have refused to see that they that you cannot discuss strategy online. You cannot set your strategic goals online without confidentiality. And there seems to be this acceptance to either little information or no information at all, or a lot of information that is a big lie. We seem to lie in between those two gaps. You either get little information or no information at all, a lie in itself, or we are getting big fantasies of information that are also just a big lie as well. But there is no set grounds for confidentiality. I don't think even too many of us now, if you ask in the diaspora, or even I would stick with just the diaspora because that's who I'm most familiar with, understand what it means when you say strategy. I don't think they understand that strategy is not even just the militarily, but also the points of attack and how we set up, who we collaborate with. It has so many things to do with strategy that are not discussed outside, but is the groundworks of this organizing that we do. I don't think if people cannot understand what strategy is, can they understand to be confidential about strategy?
Well, Desire, unfortunately, when you look at our Ugandan population in the diaspora, we have everything and everybody in there, ranging from the most, I don't know which word to use, most ignorant person to the most intelligent person. We have them in the diaspora. And unfortunately, as they say that empty tins sound
Make
louder,
love.
many of these people, they just want to blow hot air out of their mouth so that they can, at least that's what they believe, that they can elevate their status and be considered as a people of some status, even when they know they are people without a status when it comes to social development. Back in our villages, when we were growing up, there are some people who would sit with the Nyinimu in the boss in the house when he has prepared booze. I don't, because my father used to make a lot of mwenge, especially on major holidays. There are people who would sit with him in the living room. Then there are people who would sit on the veranda. And there are people, they would give forms in the Ruja, and it's, even the Mwasa Jute chairs, and they sit there, they give them all the booze, big calabashes of beer, and they all had a good time. But not everybody sat in the deal, as we call it in Uganda, in the living room. Not everybody sat in the living room. And sometimes the conversations going on in the living room were different from the conversation going on by the veranda, where so many of our village mates would sit there and have a good time. And they would enjoy drinking and even eating whatever my mother cooked. So that's the way life is. But today, Everybody thinks he can sit at the same high table with the people of intellectual power to discuss intellectual issues. This is what is lacking, by the way. And I can tell you, I haven't been to any of these meetings, but I can tell you, none of those people has the intellectual power to discuss serious issues. This is why you are seeing some imposters jumping up on an issue, claiming, oh, I did this. And you ask him, when the hell did you do it? We have seen your pictures somewhere dancing or standing by the, blown up tanks, or talking about your wonderful vehicle you used to drive. And yet people were busy talking about stopping the pipeline because of its environmental effect. By the way, it takes a lot of brains to be able to analyze that this pipeline has a negative effect on the environment, has a negative effect on the community it is going to go through, has a negative effect on blah, 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 even on economic basis. It is more expensive to build that pipeline from Uganda to the coast of Tanzania than building a refinery inside Uganda. Economically, it makes more sense to build the refinery in Uganda, sell the fuel to Ugandans at a controlled price, and export the difference and create jobs for our people, elevate your technological know-how, improve your education, employment, and technology transfer into Uganda. How many people would learn what a refinery works like if we had one in Hoima or Gulu or Masindi? But some of these, small brains, they think that they know it all because they can wiggle their butts. That's not the way to build a country, okay? We are not looking for making names or inflating our names or propping up our images by grabbing on whatever other people's successes are. No. We are looking for accomplishing a specific achievement for the good of Uganda. History is going to reward us. Those who have done something and those who have done nothing, they will be left by the wayside. Everyone can play a role where you can best achieve success. If you are good at dancing, dance like hell. If you are good at playing music, play the music. It doesn't matter. But let other people be the best builders of a country, the best surgeons, the best engineers for our roads, the best teachers in our universities, the best of whatever they can do best. Confidentiality is vital to the success of this revolution. As I said, if we are going to run our mouth like that, like loudspeakers, we are helping the enemy because he's going to be on guard. The Baganda have a saying, akugoba yakuwe kubo, which means whoever chases you is the one who gives you direction. Because when he's chasing you and he's yelling, hey, he has gone down by the kitchen house, he has passed the pig's house, then you turn around, you find another location. Look at him, he's going by the traffic light. Oh, then you break off and go. Don't run your mouth like that when you are in this kind of activity. Confidentiality is important. In military science, they say surprise is the best weapon. We are here to remove invaders from Uganda. Let us surprise them. But for God's sake, do something on a daily basis. You can look at yourself and say, today is Sunday. What have I accomplished in the last week towards this revolution I'm in? If you haven't, catch up by tomorrow and do something. But don't sit on your fat behind and wait for them to come and do something against you or your neighbor. And then you stand there with your teeth out, screaming, calling a God who is not going to come in an ego to save you. God comes in human beings and says, let us do something. As we are talking today, we are giving you messages that you should actually pick up and say, what can I do tomorrow to further this revolution? And there is a lot you can do.
Thank you for that, Senior. And just to add on a little bit, in terms of this revolution and people leading with actions, we need to get out of the habit of doing the minimum we can do. Do the maximum you can do, and don't expect the other person to come and ask you if you did what you had to do. Be your own master. Be the one to say, oh, today I actually accomplished what I need to do. What else can I do should be our question. What else can I do? Not because I'm looking to pile up what I have to show people that I'm doing the most, but what else can I do because I have finished what I had to do, and now I can move on to other tasks and reduce other people's burdens, as we all have different realities and circumstances in the diaspora. But with that being said, even the ones who are homebound, with that being said, we're going to take a very short break, and we're going to start receiving your calls and comments right after we get back. And Senior will be here to reply to any questions you have, any comments you might have. You'll hear from Senior. We'll just take a very short break and come back to that last segment.
Lwaki twetaaga enkola eya federo mu Uganda? Era federo kye ki? Federo nkola ya nfuga, si kya kugoba gavumenti eya wakati, si bya bufuzi bya bibiina, si kya bibiina bingi oba obutabaawo, si kya njawulo mu ddiini, si kya kusosola mu bika, si lwa kugasa Buganda yokka, si kya Bwakabaka, si kya ttaka oba okugoba abantu ku ttaka, si kya kusukkuluma kw'ekitundu ekimu ku kirala oba ebirala. Kikwata ku kuyamba gavumenti eya wakati okuwa obuweereza obulungi n'okuwa abantu enkulaakulana ennungi. Kikwata kugabana obuyinza n'obuvunaanyizibwa wakati wa gavumenti eya wakati ne gavumenti ez'ebitundu. Federo ekwata ku kuwa obugagga obusingawo, okuwulira okusingawo nti bali wamu n'okwetaba mu nfuga y'abantu abasuuliddwa ku bbali n'abatasuuliddwa ku bbali. Enkola ya gavumenti eya federo ekendeeza ku busobozi bw'okukuba olutalo ku gavumenti eya wakati. Kikendeeza ku bikolwa eby'obutujju eby'omunda n'obutali bumativu eri gavumenti eya wakati. Erimu obukuumi obuzimbibwamu obukakasa enkulaakulana ey'enjawulo eri ebitundu byonna eby'eggwanga, n'ebintu ebirala okulaba n'ebitundu eby'eggwanga ebisuuliddwa ku bbali oba ebitakulaakulana nnyo bisobola okukwatagana nga biyita mu nkola y'okugaba ensimbi ez'okwenkanankana n'enteekateeka z'okukakasa. Bino bikakasa nti ebitundu ebirina ensimbi ennyingi n'enkulaakulana biwaayo ebitundu ku 100 ebyenfuna byabwe ebyakanyibwako nga tebinnabaawo mu nkulaakulana y'ebitundu ebiyinza okuba nga tebinnakulaakulana nnyo. Kinaamanyibwa nti federal wadde nga ya njawulo ku decentralization tekootana oba okuggyawo decentralization. Enkola zombi zisobola era zirina okubeera awamu era nga zijulizigana ku mutendera gw'ekitundu. Okulwanirira federal tekitegeeza oba okunoonya okugoba okugabanya obuyinza okuva mu mitendera gw'ekitundu era tekitegeeza kugoba babaka ba disitulikiti, abakulembeze ba LC oba abakungu ba gavumenti z'ebitundu ebirala. Okuyiga ebisingawo ku federal weewandiise ng'ogenda ku www.ufcc.uk.
Welcome back to the Tower at UNN. At this point in time, we're going to now listen to our viewers and the messages that they have. So, Senior, we're going to start with our first viewer, and this is from Rodney from West Nile State. So I'll go ahead and play Rodney's messages.
Good evening, UNN, Madam Desire. Thanks for the show and our elder, Mr. Kintu. I have one question I wanted to ask Mr. Kintu because he's more into economics. We are seeing how things are unfolding, how the geopolitics, the global economy, how things are unfolding, and we are hearing about Great Reset. So back in Uganda, no one seems to talk about it, including the media. And of course, I don't think the media can talk about that, could teach our people, could tell anything concerning that. Because that Great Reset, what I know, they want to remove the use of paper money. They want to introduce the use of, let me say, mostly cards. So basing on our societies in Uganda, many people have no knowledge about that. Even as we speak, there are those in Uganda. A woman down in my village doesn't even know how ATM card looks like. So, and of course we understand these are the very people who are pushing for, who have been sponsoring these those of Museveni, Kagame, and so forth. They are the ones behind it. So my question is, how could we educate our people about that? And of which significance can we use it to our advantage in the Federal Revolution? Then secondly, what could be the likely advantages and disadvantages of it, provided it has been imposed on us? Because they are doing it behind closed doors. Because like here in Dubai, yesterday but one, Starbucks, they have declared that they are going to be using, there is a branch which is not allowing paper money anymore. So they are using only cards. So that's the concern I had. Then to those who are to some of us who are in diaspora, what could be the safeguard? What could we do to make sure that we don't suffer so much from it in case it is to be introduced in a short time possible? What can we do? Those who have no knowledge about it. So how can we prepare best? Thank you. Then the issue of Ugandans, especially the Uganda, like people in diaspora. Last year, some of those people in America, our brother Kabuye, he was poisoned. Has he ever taken time to think how he got that poison? Because recently, the other time, Mr. Kintu, you told us of people who don't reason critically. They take these things just for granted. If you are poisoned and you are seeing the new people, they are coming with these people, they are coming towards you, and you don't take any precaution, you don't take any safety measures, you even put your kids on camera? Well, what if they follow them and poison them at school again? So some of these people, I don't know, mostly the Waganda, I don't know what's wrong with them. They don't learn. I thought that man will have learned a lesson. He should not put his kids in the camera, pose to make a video of them showing his family members. If truly you are fighting, you know the person you are fighting with has more spies abroad, including home. What could make you do that? Then some of those people that we thought had an agenda of had anything to do with the deliberation of our country, I think we were mistaken, because as we are seeing now, they were assigned to do their part, and it is what they are doing. So I don't think Ugandans, the best option, the day Ugandans will realize that we are on our own, it's when some individuals and the majority will take it upon themselves to begin to start acting individually and to know their roles and way how to fight for their country. Because we are seeing, of all the points I've mentioned, these people don't talk about anything. For them, they are in shows, parties. So we can't blame them on that. We never ask ourselves questions. We didn't go deeper. That is the challenge that we faced. But if we had known before, majority will have not stick to these people, because it is now they are showing it point blank. I think they are doing it deliberately, because you cannot tell me you're fighting Museveni, then his son was promoted, then your wife come out to congratulate the son, yet you are claiming you're fighting that dictator, and your wife is congratulating the son, his son. Then I think they are showing us indirectly, but Ugandans have failed to wake up. So it is upon us, the few who know what to do, let's carry on. The rest, some will find us on the way. Thank you.
And that was from one of our viewers, Rodney from Westminster.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney, for that point. Although it has no relevance to the topic we have been dealing with today, however, I'm going to respond very briefly about it. First, anything to do with Robert Kabuye Boston, I think that is the person you should send these questions to, because I'm not going to speak for him, and I'm not going to speculate or give an opinion about him. I know Robert Kabuye. We are good friends, and we talk to each other. We joke about anything, and I know where he stands. So leave him alone. That's his problem. On the issue of economic dynamics going on in the world, again, as I said, it has no relevance to what we are talking about. But as an economist, I can tell you one thing. The Muzungu countries are operating in what we call a monetary economy. In our countries, as you said, your West Nile residents, same as my Baganda residents in Masaka, where I come from, we have three classes of people. We have those who are surviving on what we call a subsistence economy. And we have those who are surviving on a semi-subsistence economy. And we have a very small percentage, population-wise, who are living in what I would call monetary economy. I don't believe those who are in what I would call monetary economy, I don't think they even make a 10%. If we are used some statisticians to go there and do a survey, they will be less than 10%. But the majority of our people are in what I would call subsistence economy and the semi-subsistence economy. They have nothing to do with what you are talking about in the Muzungu economies, because those things don't affect them. It is unfortunate that we have stupid leaders in our countries who are pretending to be what they are not. For one reason, either they are stupid, ignorant about understanding the society they live in, or they are such imposters that they shouldn't even be in office when it comes to governance in our countries. So you are not going to merge what is going on in foreign economies, which are very much dependent on what I would call monetary economy, and bring your mother or your aunt in West Nile who is surviving on subsistence economy. Totally irrelevant. Those of you who remember the former dictator of Haiti, I think his name was Marcos, his wife was such a bastard woman. And I'm trying to be nice because I could have used a worse word than that. She lived in Haiti, which is a tropical island, but because she has been traveling with her husband, going to so many countries, including Moscow, she bought mink coats and all those expensive mink coats from Europe, which are worn by European women in cold places. So when she got to Haiti, she cannot put mink coats on them. So she instructed the engineers to build a refrigerated room in their palace in Haiti, whereby she could put on those mink coats and be in that refrigerated room and pretend she's in St. Petersburg, Moscow, or St. Petersburg, Russia, or Berlin. What an idiot. If that woman was an idiot, so you are people there who are pretending to say, let us see how we can merge our economies with the Muzungu economies, which have now done away with the paper money. They're going to be using credit cards or whatever, plastic cards. What a nonsense. Those two things are incompatible. Do you think that Sephorosa in Iganga, who has never even seen a credit card or debit card, now you are going to tell her that do away with the paper money and and by the way, where does she buy stuff? She goes to the market and buys fish from the fishmonger, or tomatoes or onions. Is she going to pass that card to the fishmonger from Sese Island? Are you kidding me? So please, those two things are as different as day and night. We shouldn't even be talking about it. It's a waste of time. We have a bigger problem to do, getting rid of Nyarwandas from Uganda. Let's concentrate on Nyarwandas. Forget these incompatible issues. They don't even apply to our lifestyle. Thank you for the question anyway.
No, because we've had those, but also the non-compatibility. So it was interesting to hear that point of view, because rarely do we hear it. Us in the diaspora really believe that our lifestyles is how Africa is going to play out as well, or our countries, but it's not always the case. So that was an interesting opinion to hear as well, a perspective. I let me put it that way. And our next caller is Mama Onye from Bukedi State. I'll go ahead and play her message as well.
Mukulu senior Kintu tubasiima nnyo bye mukola tubeeyanza kati sitera kufuna kadde akaweereza ebibuuzo byange kibanga tekikwatira ddala ku Nankanyi eno ku nsomesa eno eriwo olwaleero naye ekwatagana n'ensomesa ebaddewo mu biseera ebiwedde. Kati ekibuuzo kyange kiri bwe kiti, nga bannaye tugenda okukola ebibiina byaffe gye tuzaalibwa, bannaye tunaakikola tutya? Kubanga Museveni yajjawo cooperatives. Bwe tutandika ebibiina tunaasobola tutya ng'ate omusajja tayagala cooperatives? Ndowooza buli bwe tutuula ajja kwetwekwasa nti tukola bye yajjawo mu ggwanga. Kati magezi ki? Eyo nayo tuba twogera strategy, kubanga bino ebya strategy banaye tunaasobola tutya? Abamu tetumanyi kyakukola, n'ekirala abamu tetumanyi nanankanyi ebibiina bye mwalonda gye tuviira. Kale bannange mutuyambeko awo. Bye.
And Senior Chintu, that question is directed to you from the previous show.
Mama Onye, thank you very much for that question. I would probably say Professor Gukina is much more qualified to answer that issue. That being said, I believe that any person should sit down and make a list of which problem needs to be solved now, which can be solved next week, which can be put off until next month. There are some issues which are very, very eminent, which have to be dealt with now, which should not wait until Christmas. There are some issues which we can afford to put off until Christmas or until next year. Now, you are right. There is no way you are going to organize a developmental oriented project in Uganda when Uganda is still dominated by these invaders. There is no way. I remember somebody, he's now dead, came to me some years ago and asked me what can be done, how we can help reorganize the Democratic Party. And I told him, there is no way you can reorganize the Democratic Party when an NRM is still sitting on your heads. That can only be done after NRM is gone. And by the way, that has nothing to do with the Democratic Party, any political party for that matter. You cannot organize any political party which will be clear and clean of these invaders. You cannot. Because they are not going to allow you. That is why they can allow these so-called political parties which they dominate. Look at NUP. Who is in control of NUP? It is the Banyarwandas. Okay? Who is in control of FDC? The Banyarwandas. Who is in control of NRM? Nyarwandas. UPC, they killed it completely. Okay? Now, you cannot organize anything that is going to build Uganda when we still have these Nyarwandas on our heads. There is no way. So the most important and the immediate action which you have to be engaged in today is getting rid of Nyarwandas. The next is where do we go after we get rid of the Nyarwandas? This is what this UNN has been telling you over and over. We have to have a federal system of governance. It's not only getting rid of Nyarwandas, but what do we put in place? This is what UNN has been preaching consistently. Federal system of government. After setting up a federal system of government, then you can organize, whether it is political parties, economic institutions, social, cultural, you name it. You'll be able to do it. because you will have a clean plate on which to start building a new Uganda. But right now you can't. So, my dear, our concern and our focus should be on getting rid of these bastards out of our country now. Then we come up with the federal system. And that federal system is not going to wait for tomorrow. The day they are gone, the federal system is in place. And these judges you've listed here, I think they deserve to go to Luzira for a graduate course because they are morally bankrupt. They may have the degrees in law, but morally they are bankrupt. They need to have a master's degree in morality, and that master's degree is going to be acquired at Luzira. That's the university for it.
And for our next caller, this is Omunyoro Atenyi from Bunyoro State.
Mr. Chintu, our elder plus Desire Nakauka, the host, we appreciate your duty and your great work you are doing towards our revolution as Ugandans. And it is true that, Mr. Kintu, you've mentioned a very big point because, as we know, Banyarwanda, they use Ubwenge system of management, lie, deception, and witchcraft. The fact is, in our struggle to liberate our country, we don't need majority. The only system that Museveni have used to manage our country, the whole of Great Lakes region, is using Ubwenge. Many people have been Ubwenged and ended up to death. Nja kuwa ekyokulabirako nga muzeeyi Israeli Mayenga akyali mulamu, Paulo Muwanga mufu, so nga ate baali mu lutalo lwe babiri nga baagala okununula eggwanga. Nga Lansiseera Muwanga eyayaniriza Museveni ne mukazi we basule mu ddiiro nga mufu, essaawa zino muzeeyi twokiweera obujulizi nti abo bonna abantu abako. Amazima gali nti bwe tuneesiga abantu mu revolution yaffe, era ajja bawa ssente, ajja balimbalimba, abamu abakozesa n'abaleka awaatyo mu bbanga. Tulaba tamala emirundi ali awo alya ku myera gye bakasusa emabbali, so nga ate bali ku nkota bakola ki? Balya. Era okununula ensi yaffe tetwetaaga muyeeyerero gw'abantu. Omuyeeyero gw'abantu gujja tuswaza gumalirize nga gutuyiyeeyo. Abaludde ku UNN mujjukira Kalyango yatuviiramu ebizibu. Naye sijja kwogera be bumanyi bangi abavudde ku UNN ne bagwa nga bagendedde ku myera gye bakasuse obukunkumuka nga tebaagala kutuka ku dayiningi. UNN mwebale kujja, naye tetuyinza kulinda majority y'abantu. Abatono abanaavaayo be bajja okununula ensi. Era nga bwe tukimanyi nti kagurupu akatufuga k'abantu mpawo we kenkana, n'okununula ensi yaffe twetaaga abantu batono. Abantu batono ne bajja okununula ensi yaffe batutwale mu nsi ensuubize eya federo. N'ebyawandiikibwa biraga nti abaatuusa abantu mu nsi ensuubize baali batono. Yali Musa n'abalala naye ng'amazima tetwetaaga muyeeyero gw'abantu kutuusa Uganda mu nsi ya federo. Mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala. Long live UNN.
And that was Munyoro Atenyi from Bunyoro State.
Yeah, Mr. Atieni, thank you for that comment. What he said is that, in a nutshell, we do not need a multitude of people in order to save the country. We need a small, focused, concentrated, determined, and dedicated team of people who are going to fight for the liberation of Uganda. And it is that small, dedicated, focused, and determined group that will bring the rest of the masses into a free and a sovereign new Uganda. Basically, that's what he said. I have nothing to add on. It is crystal clear. I say, Amen. I salute you for your comment.
And our next caller, this is Teacher Mwesi from Buganda State. I'll go ahead and play that.
Hello. Hello there. Hello, our host, Desire, our guest of today, as usual, our guest, Senior Kintu. I'm glad to see you. Thank you very much for the well presented program, as you always do. My name is Mwes, as usual. I just called to say thank you in most of the presentation you have done, and just to add a little bit on what you accountability. Accountability, as far as Uganda's situation is concerned, you see, is very difficult and if not impossible there. And the main reason for me, what I see, is that most of the people in positions, responsible positions, you find that the people who are placed in those positions of the government are misallocated. There is a lot of misallocation of resources. The people who are supposed to be in a different department are put in a different department, and those who are supposed to be in a different department are put in another department. So there is a lot of confusion, which we call, and I sum it in one word, that there is a misallocation of resource. That means resources, you may find that people in finance are people who should have been in agriculture. You find that agriculture, people who are graduated in agriculture, people who knows agriculture, you find them in finance, Bank of Uganda, and so forth. Those who are supposed economics, you find military, you find them where they are not supposed to be. So there are a lot of misallocation because these people are not giving jobs depending on what you qualify into. They just say so and so is my relative, my whoever, and they place them in very crucial positions, rendering them to not to do anything. If they put you, we have seen people who are who have studied things like let me still go to agriculture. Those people who went for agriculture and they graduated with diplomas or whatever, and they end up in banking. So that is a misallocation of resource. So if you ask them accountability, they will not give you proper accountability because they didn't know what they are supposed to be doing in the finance department. Likewise, wherever you go, somebody who is not supposed, who never got any education in the line of transportation, he cannot, if he is the one who is heading a transportation, what do you expect out of him? And if you ask for him to make an accountability, he will not. So that's the situation. Uganda's situation, as we know that Uganda is a failed state. Everything is failed. They just place you wherever. They are messing up everything. They're messing everything. That's the reason we can see that accountability is very complicated in Uganda. Anyway, I only wanted to thank you for your presentation and your effort always to be with us on Sunday. Thank you very much. Have a great one.
Thank you so much, Teacher Mwesi, for reaching out to us. I'll then yield the floor to Senior Chintu to respond.
Well, Teacher Mwesi, thank you for your comments. I think what you have said is the more reason why we should fight to remove NRM regime from power, because they have championed the skill of misallocating people. I don't understand anybody who may have a brain that is worth being called a leader or manager would make the same kind of mistakes Museveni has made. Putting people in place simply because they are Batusi, or simply because they are related to him or to his extended family, is the most disastrous display of stupidity and ignorance and absence of managerial skill. I said earlier, his wife, the only thing I believe she knows is to milk cows. How can you put such a person to head the Ministry of Education? She herself is not even well educated for that matter. I don't even know, and I'm not sure if she actually has a high school diploma. I don't think so. If she went to high school, she was pushed through and then finally ended up in Museveni's house. Now, look at this example of this woman who studied social work and is heading the Uganda airline. I wonder even how many airplanes that she's managing. This is what you're talking about, misallocation. And look at this watermelon as vice president. And I mean, you can go on and on and on and write a volume of individual characters. Look at his son. He's a drunkard bastard. And he's heading military. He can't even read what has been written for him. Oh, by the way, I spoke to someone who worked in his office, and he told me that this and the quote, we used to prepare documents, and you ask him to sign, and he would be there at the desk for as long as I've been broadcasting, he's trying to sign his signature on the paper. And that's the command of the military force. And he has done it so well to display his stupidity to the entire public. And the people still, you find idiots out there screaming, oh, we want Muhoozi to be president. For God's sake, I wouldn't even pick him to head to manage my pig's house. But that's what they are, because his son or his son-in-law is selling spare parts of our children. And I mean, you name it. In Swahili, we call it Garcia. You find Garcia everywhere. But for them, they are glorifying it. And what upsets me even more is you find people you would expect it to be reasonable, and I'm using the word reasonable in inverted commas, who are still going along with this kind of nonsense, which is a shame. And yet Uganda has important people, well-trained, responsible, efficient, professional people who could run that country. And you are not even giving them a chance. What is even worse is when it comes to the so-called opposition, and you find our people, even those of you in the diaspora, flocking to this kind of nonsense, wasting your time, your resources, and the money which you are earning by working these hard labor jobs here in these foreign countries, feeding on the same machinery. We are talking about Banyarwanda, Batusi, who have overrun our country. And then you are telling me, as a Ugandan, that, oh, the people that we are working with in the so-called opposition are also Banyarwanda and Batusi. Now, what are you fighting? As I said, you cannot choose to, if you're Catholic, you can't choose to be a Catholic priest and at the same time you want to be a married man. It just doesn't work. Self-contradictory. If you want to fight these Batusi who have invaded our country, then there is no point. You should be hanging around with Batusi as directing you where to go and what to do, which is now the case. Question I want to raise to people like you and you, the caller. When did NUP supporters start being picked up from their houses in Mulaje, in Maoka, in Iganga? By the way, they have never been picked up in Ankole or Chigezi, only in Uganda. When it did start, when you formed the NUP, which is run by Munyarwanda, that's when all this started. Because these Nyarwandas know who is our big supporter in Iganga, who is our big supporter in Nandere, who is our big supporter in Igori. They know where they are. And they direct their kins and kith to go pick them up and slaughter them like dogs. When you look in the diaspora, you are talking about poisoning. Yes, someone called us and told about poisoning people like Robert Kabuye. Yes, how many people, NUP supporters in South Africa, have been poisoned? Who is the leader of NUP in South Africa? Emunyarwanda. Who is the leader of NUP in Boston? Emunyarwanda. Who is leader of NUP in London? Emunyarwanda. Who is leader of NUP in the Middle East? Emunyarwanda. You mean there is no Muganda, Musoga, Acholi, Lango, West Naira who can be leader, or Munyoro who can be leader of NUP in any of these locations? And then you tell me that our people are being selectively killed. Give me one name of a NUP supporter, if there is one in Ankole or Chigezi, who has been picked up and killed or thrown in jail for no reason but supporting Chagulanyi. You are not going to produce one. Even those people you are parading as your mentors, Secretary General, Treasurer, legal advisor, driver, cook, wife, one who is, grinding binyebwa in your kitchen, they are Nyarwandas. And you tell me you are fighting in Nyarwandas? Give me a break. And let me tell you, I'm sorry, I have to be harsh today. I am not here, as Shakespeare said, I come to bury Caesar but not to praise him. I am not here looking for your love. I don't need it. But I'm here to point my finger on you. You are destroying Uganda by supporting the people, your in-laws. It is you people who have made Museveni prevail. Nobody else. Because the people of Uganda, from West Nile to Busia, from Moroto to Chigezi, they hate Museveni and his regime. They hate the Nyarwandas who have taken over our country. And it is you people who are supporting them and propping them into power consistently. by bluffing the masses who could probably open their eyes and do something. You're bluffing them by music and dancing and drinking and a simple sex. Not to forget drugs. This is where the problem is. I hope you people who are listening to us today will go back and confront each and every Ugandan, especially you Ugandans in the diaspora. Confront each one of them and tell them to open their eyes and see where the danger is. Because the danger is right there. As long as you are kissing the behinds of these Nyarwandas, and I'm talking about this, what is his name? The Rubongoyas, the
Kirimana.
Katanas, whatever, and these other one in Boston, whatever, as long as you are still kissing their behinds, you are going to continue dying one by one. Because for them, they are consistent in what they came here for, to kill you and take over the country.
For our next caller, it's from Mayembe, from Buganda State.
bannange mwebale kuweereza pulogulaamu mukyala desire mwami kintu pokino tubaagala nnyo leero eddoboozi lyange si ddungi nnyo naye ngenda kwebaza bwebaza n'okutumira ku mwenna abaliko mwebale nnyo mwebale ddala.
Thank you so much, Mayembe, for sending that message towards us. We also appreciate that you called in to appreciate the work that is being done, and hopefully your voice and vocal cords do get better with time. So, Senior, I'll move on to the next caller, and the next call, this is from Zankumbi from Buganda State.
Good afternoon, Desire and Pokino. We thank you so much for such a brilliant show and the very, very important virtues that you have raised for us this afternoon. Mine is just a comment about accountability and confidentiality. I think one of our greatest downsides as Ugandans is a lack of being reflective. We are not so reflective about our words and possibly even our own consciences. We don't hear our inner man. So you find that people either say something for the sake of saying it or for the sake of getting credit that they don't deserve, or the wrong motives. And that is definitely a negative for anyone who thinks that they're going to be resourceful in a revolution, the kind that we are fighting today. So I would encourage all of us to take time to just step back. You don't have to say anything at all sometimes. Silence is golden. One Bible verse says that even a fool is thought wise when they stay silent for some time. Someone who's discerning needs to be able to understand, to even figure out, why am I saying what I'm saying at this point in time? Why are you releasing that information to the people that you're giving them to? You're giving it to. Intent. So we need a little more reflective thing that we are going to fight well in this revolution, because there is no way we're going to catch the enemy off guard if we are that loose-mouthed, or if we are not reflective as to know and understand why we say what we say, when we say it, and how we say it, and to whom. So let's be reflective, let's be more precautionary about the way we handle information, and then our own accountability about the role that we want to play in this revolution, what we are bringing to the table, and how much of ourselves we are ready to give so that we get the message all the way home. Again, we appreciate the show. Thank you so much for all that you're doing for us and keeping us informed.
Thank you so much. This was a message from Samkumbi from Buganda State. And Senior, I yield the floor to you to reply.
Well, I have nothing to add on but to appreciate the comment because it is very well stated, and I agree with you 100%. if not 200%.
And then this brings us to our last caller of today. And this is a question from Petero from Buganda State, who writes, What's your thoughts, Senior Chintu, about your neighbor, Dr. Daniel Kauma in Maryland, who is still dancing with Noop in the diaspora leadership?
You want me to comment about an individual? I am in a struggle for the nation, not for individuals. Each one has a way of dealing with issues. Some people may look like they are misinformed, or they have a different purpose. Um, I remember I I have a good friend of mine with whom we share the same interest. We both love Congolese music. And we were talking about some activities we used to get involved in a long time ago when we were young and good looking, by the way. We would go to the nightclub, and some of us just went there to dance. And there are some people who went there, if they were girls, to be picked up by boys, or the boys just went there to pick up girls. And you could, at the end of the day, of course, we all went to the same nightclub. The music was wonderful. We all danced. And wow, I danced like hell. And the other one is going to be talking about, oh, I only danced one or two songs. And say, what were you doing the rest of the time? Oh, I was looking for girls, or the girls were looking for boys, and that's what occupied their time. So we both went to the same dancing bar, but we had totally different objectives. I went there to have a good time. I loved dancing rumba. And the other person just went there, just wanted to use the opportunity to pick up girls. Or which thought was a girl. She went there to be picked up by boys. And if her friends asked, where have you been? We've been looking for you at this phone. She said, Mundeke namwe. Because her interest was totally different. She wasn't on the floor dancing. So if you ask me about anybody, well, you can fill in the names of anybody. You're going to find that you may all talk the same language. You may all complain about the same enemy, but you have totally different objectives. So each one has a right to do what they want. I don't know what this guy's objectives are, but damn right, I know what mine are. Mine are focused on getting rid of these Nyarwandas from Uganda. That's my focus. If someone else is also focused on that same objective, we're going to be team. If they are interested in other things, that's their problem. But let me tell you, when we are all done, we are going to save Uganda. We are going to cross that bridge. Maybe they remain behind because they are still looking for a different objective, or they will eventually join us, and we shall be in a free and a sovereign Uganda run by Ugandans under a federal system of governance, period.
And then our second last caller, I made an error. We have two more callers to go through. Our second last caller, this is Baker from Busoga State.
Yes, Zaya mukadde waffe Majors Kintu mwebale kuweereza mu studio za UNN. Mwebale nnyo. Just nze ebigambo yange bigenda kubeera bitono nnyo. Just we have to be focused. Era tuli focused because what we need is what we want. And we must get what we want because that's what we need. Federal system of governance. That's what we need. So this issue of these two C's, who invaded our country and took it over, from our grandparents, brothers and sisters of those times. Just it was their chance. It was their chance and they did it and they succeeded. But it's time for them to get out of our country because we want it and we want it so badly. And even another issue is that Kayura Charles is the so-called son of Kale Kaleches Kayura, the former IGP of Uganda Police. That boy is even an idiot. First of all, that boy and Blaze is a clique of thieves. They call themselves the crime preventers, but they are nothing. They are nothing totally. The indigenous Ugandans. Even I remember in 2014 they were going to be beaten there in Kabali. And they are full of false intellectuals. So that's what they were doing. The indigenous Ugandans there in Kabali, trying giving them false information about their program. They were going to be beaten so badly. So if it was not that Moses Kafero who was the commandant of the school at that time, cease fire. Those boys, they were going to be beaten so badly. Because I myself was there. So, and even I'm saying that even that boy stop even receiving his cause because it makes no sense. I don't know why even you bring him to receive his voice calls on UNN. No, stop it. Fact desire, please stop. Stop receiving that Kaiura idiot on our program. It's not an Uganda. There's no seat for him. UNN is a seat for Ugandans from the 16 nation states. It's like he wants to get us off the track by his words. So I'm not indeed. Otherwise, thanks for the show, Mr. Majors and Sir. Big up. Kagombe kenkomerero katandise okuvuga. Politicians stole our future. We're gonna get it back by all means. Whoever stands in our way, let him prepare a coffin for himself. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
And that was from Baker from Busoga State. Senior, I yield the floor to you, but I also think everything he said was very streamlined, forward, and straight to the point. But if you would like to comment on what Baker said, please do go ahead.
Yes, I really don't have much to add on what he says. However, I will say one thing, a word of caution. In any struggle, don't be overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't over until it is over. You see, in this business, there is no having A plus because you got 95% in the exam. There is F, which is failure, and there is S, which is success. And the success has to be 100%, and the 99% can be a failure. because that 1% missing can throw you into the ditch. Don't be overconfident. I was talking to a dear friend of mine from our neighbors, and I said, "Sir, what happened?" He said, "My brother, we dropped the ball. We were overconfident. We did not, we underestimated Ruto's strength and support. Some of the support we knew of and we were prepared for it, but the other areas we were overconfident, and that's what screwed us up." And this person is not a cheap person, and is not a small Kenyan, but a big one. To hear it that way, we were overconfident and we screwed up. So please, I don't want you to one day to call here or call me and say, "Oh, my friend, I was overconfident. That boy is an idiot. We could have beaten them." But you didn't. So don't be overconfident. Be confident when you can say, "We have won." That's what I want to hear.
And then our last caller today, this is coming from Samuel from Buganda State. I'll go ahead and play it.
Thank you so much, the program Desire, and thank you so much, our senior managers, to come and enlighten some points here concerns about the accountability and confidentiality. What do you expect in such a unitary government which is failed and run by the foreigner who came to destroy, to dismantle, and take away anything that he found that country? What do you expect to the country to operate? You're expecting it to be a failed state as it is right now, because his purpose why he came in, he did not come here to make it a productive country. He came to spoil it, to dismantle, and take away everything that he has, that country has, and leave the people suffering as he's doing right now. Don't expect it to develop. The only thing that Ugandans need to do right now is just to take away this unitary government with their leader as a foreigner guy. So it is up to Ugandans to wake up and then to chase away this foreign leader in the country, which is not even theirs. He came to grab, dismantle, kill, and take away everything. It is except all the Ugandans to do the same, to chase away. And then they have to make a choice whether they want to keep the person in the country, spoiling it, destroying, and dismantle everything, or to save the country by chasing away and stop all the operation that he's doing with them. So we are calling the Ugandans to wake up and Uganda to join the federal revolution in order. That is the only solution that we are having, because if we pay and waiting for 2026, that's going to be another mess. So we don't need to wait for that time. So it is time to join the federal revolution in order to chase away the unitary government with their leader. So thank you so much for the program, and let us keep focus for the federal revolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for your message. I'll go ahead and yield the floor to Senior Chintu in response.
Well, I don't have much to add on that. I'm glad he says Ugandans should wake up and remove this foreign dominated regime. I agree with you 100%. And that's what we are here for. We are here to teach our fellow countrymen, the indigenous Ugandans, to wake up. But by waking up, don't follow any butterfly that comes around. You know, I remember, again, to quote the Bible, there is a section in the Bible where they say, at one time before the end day, you will get these false prophets telling you, oh, Jesus has appeared in Uganda, and they all flock to Uganda. And then another one will say, oh, no, 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 Jesus has appeared in Hoima, and they all run to Hoima. He says, stay put. Don't follow these false prophets who are going to tell you all these kind of weird stories because they don't make sense. This is the situation we are in. There are some people still following these butterflies. Oh, this is going to be our savior. This is going to lead us to victory. We are going to work. We are going to make sure that we put our money in the state house. Who told you state house is the,
As an
is the
order.
new? I mean, and another one is he tells people, I promise my wife that I'm going to lay you in the bedroom of the state house and make love to you all night long. I mean, is that what we should shed our blood for? So that you can lay your wife in the state house bedroom and make love to her all night long? Is that what we should die for? Another one is going to tell you, we are going to have a big concert in the state house. State house is not a dancing hall. I mean, this we have tons and tons of stupid statements coming out of, unfortunately, the same stupid people. And I see hundreds of you guys spending your time and money following these butterflies. What's wrong with you? Uganda, as this guy says, Ugandans wake up. We have a job to do. Not to lay our wives in the state house and make love to them all night long, but to remove the Nyarwandas from Uganda. That is the job. Whether you are going to lay your wife in the Chambogo or Chamaganda or whatever, it doesn't matter, as long as you are in a free Uganda. Let us focus on saving Uganda from these Nyarwandas. The strategy and the plans cannot be discussed openly. And by the way, they cannot be discussed by people with small brains. We need to utilize people with active brains. Those of you who may have had a chance to listen to that conference of the youth in Paris, whereby a young Kenyan girl roasted the president of France, Macron, in such eloquent, intelligent style of self-definition, which none of your stupid politicians you are following in Uganda can do. None. This is what we are talking about. We want to utilize our best brains to figure out which way we can save our country from the Nyarwandas who have taken it over. But it's not going to be done by dancing all night long or smoking dope or chasing girls. None of those are going to solve the problem. Anybody who is engaged in this kind of activity is supporting Museveni to stay in power for another 100 years. And I'm willing to bet my $2 on it. Those of you who are busy smoking dope, dancing, and singing all night long, you are working for Museveni's survival. And that includes you, Baganda, who are out there now dancing all night long. It's not only the Banyarwandas, you, Baganda, who are following these butterflies are supporting Museveni to stay in power. And at the same time, you come screaming and, giggling like a he-goat which wants to make love. This is what you are doing. We need to stop. We need to wake up. Thank you very much, gentleman who said Ugandans wake up. We need to wake up.
Senior, I think that last call brought us to the end of our show, and I would invite you at this point in time to hand in or to make a closing statement if you if you'd like to, because I really think that the last pieces that you have said have complemented everything we've talked about from the start of the show. So regardless, I'd like to invite you to make a closing statement before we close down our show for today.
Thank you very much, Desire, for this program of today. In closing, I want to appeal to all of you. Don't take offense in what we have said. Look at yourself, criticize yourself, analyze yourself. What am I doing for the salvation of my country? What can be my contribution? How little or how big can I serve in saving my country from being overrun by these people, which they have done because they're consistent in their evil plans? Where have I been misled? Am I following butterflies or am I following serious people? Lucky enough, we have UNN, which has been consistently advocating the salvation of Uganda. And we are not talking about individual trying to save John, Peter, and Paul from Kitalia. Much as I agree that John, Peter, and Paul should be saved from Kitalia, but we are looking beyond an individual. We are looking at the nation. How do we save Uganda from these people who have created the misery our people are suffering? When you look at the death of our people, it is predominantly in Buganda, in the northern region and the eastern region, mostly. How can we work together as Ugandans to save this country as indigenous Ugandans? What can be done? How can we utilize our best brains? Because this is not going to be done by dope dealers and dope smokers. No, it is going to be done by brains. And then our people inside Uganda, what role can they play? You know, there is a saying, and I read it somewhere, that whenever God wanted to speak to his people, whether it is in the Old Testament or in the New Testament, the first phrase came, "Don't be afraid." Whenever God wanted to bring a serious message, the first thing was, "Don't be afraid." And I'm saying to you, my fellow Ugandans, the first thing you must fight is fear. Don't be afraid. These people, they may look like they are monsters, but they are beatable. These people can be removed from our land. Uganda can be a free country run by indigenous Ugandans in every section. And only if we can say, I am not going to be afraid anymore to face the enemy. And I am going to work with my fellow Ugandans who are seriously focused, determined, and dedicated. Look for those Ugandans who are serious, determined, and dedicated, not those who are just out there to have fun. That's all I'm asking you for. If you do that, I would say amen. Thank you very much for listening to us today. God bless you. God bless Uganda.
Thank you so much, Senior, for that. And within the same line, I would also like to thank everyone who has been with us from where we started to where we're now. And I also want to really establish what Senior said. Do not take offense to this. Take this as an opportunity to reflect, to track your steps, and also see then where you can now start to track your next steps towards. It's important to fight fear. These people are beatable. Many have risen before, but I can guarantee that if we do not rise in a in within if we do not rise in after organizing ourselves, that's when we get 99%. We need to organize ourselves and be effective, efficient, and also have moral and have principles. Like we lack just basic principles to govern our actions and what we do and why we're doing them. So we need to come together and organize ourselves, have a moral base that we base everything on that's not to do with monetary, because a lot has gone to waste because how much do I get? Understand that this is for the future. As Senior said in his statements today, history will reward you. This is, we're just passing by on this earth. We're just passing by. Do what you can today, and then tomorrow will be a gift unto you. But with that being said, I want to say good night, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you've been watching us. I want to thank Senior for coming on today, talking about these three things to their depth and openly, because I think we really did need to hear that as a community. And hopefully everyone takes this as a moment to reflect. But good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching until we meet again. I think we might be
Oluvannyuma lwa General Muhoozi Kainerugaba okuwummuzibwa ku buduumizi bw'amagye ag'oku ttaka ne bamuwa ekitiibwa eky'obwa General mu bujjuvu, atandise okutalaaga ebitundu eby'enjawulo nga bwe yasuubiza ku mukolo gwe ogw'okumujagulizaako okusinziira ku ttiimu chairman nga bwe bakulembera enteekateeka y'emikolo ng'ennaku z'omwezi 22 ku Lwomukaaga olwa wiiki ejja waakubeera mu bitundu ebya West Nile. Leero ababaka ba Paalamenti okuva mu West Nile basisinkanye ttiimu chairman ne batema empenda ku ngeri gye bagenda okwanirizamu General Muhoozi.
Today has been a day where all members of Parliament from West Nile have unanimously agreed to roll the project, MK project in West Nile, after the first project was launched and handled in West Nile by the leadership. So as representatives of the people of West Nile in Parliament, today has been a launch by the members of Parliament from West Nile region.
Like in my culture, when somebody is getting matured, somebody is aging, you need to prepare somebody to succeed you. And I think this is the best move. So I'm very happy that this step has already started, meaning that when it is the right time, we are going to have a peaceful transition.
Bagamba nti bali mabega wa General Muhoozi era bamaze dde okukola enteekateeka okumwaniriza amaanyi.
West Nile is most welcome to be part of this because we need to show our support, our usual support to MK. And I want to say in my true words, dear West Nilers, come 22nd, all of us should be there to watch and be part of MK. I love you all, West Nile, but to the people of Terego, Mama is there. You cannot miss behind. You should always be there with Mama, who will suck the breast if you are not there. I love you so much.
If we really promote MK, who is the son of the president, I think being born by him, brought up by him, taken care by him, and so forth, I think he really knows much better about how our president has been pushing this country. He can be having the most in-depth knowledge about how to run our country. So that's why personally, as a member of parliament from West Nile Sub-Region, the municipality, I really support it, because we don't want to bring somebody totally green and maybe whom there has never been maybe mentoring and trying to really push to come and really lead us after him.
Ebimu ku bigenda okutwala General Muhoozi mu kitundu kino kwe kutumbula ebitone by'abavubuka okuyita mu by'emizannyo n'okuyimba era ttiimu z'emipiira za kwetaba mu mizannyo. Geoffrey Atiku bangi gwe bamanyi nga Papa Wemba y'omu ku bamaze okwetegeka okwaniriza General Muhoozi. Ono agamba nti General Muhoozi gwe balabanga omukulembeze addako kubanga yamanya ebikwata ku bavubuka.
Tusapotinga MK project eno project wakabi nnyo ino project Katonda yamaze kutekako engalo.
Okay. Yeah. MK bwajja ne yesimbawo ku bwa president muligenda muwagira.
Fe tuganga kuwagira nnyo abantu ba West Nile tugenda kuwagira nnyo. Nze manyi kuyogera n'abantu wange tugenda kusupportinga nnyo MK.
Greater Nebi, Greater Arua, Maracha, then Madi sub-region. The games are starting tomorrow. It's part of the advertisements. So I invite each and everybody who loves Team MK chairman to come.
Ensinkano eno ekulembeddwamu Niwagira Michael Toyota Kaguta bangi gwe bamanyi nga team chairman era nga bibadde ku Speaker Apartments wano mu Kampala. Byatumwebaze Godfrey, Crossroads TV Omunyo.
Mazima muntu malakende mbere yafe Uganda yetambula yenda mabega Batuse n'okuteta myezwaka yafe Mazima muntu kugabo binyonamwe Tekuzanye mama na musiko Naye ngomwana kwamasanga gatana zaliwa Kakina yazala nada Tingambire musamba wamutukakeo Ibaze bamugambeko Eresonga chamunyo chalameteko Uganda yona yenya Saturday in the Freedom Concert, 22nd of this month, a few hours from now. We're coming to you live. I said we are fighting for freedom. I said we are fighting for freedom. At the Marriott, right? At the Marriott. Valentine.